for Mississippi's Senate seat was on Tuesday, but the fight is far from over.
Yeah, it's Saturday. It doesn't seem like it's still over. Senator Thad Cochran won the election, but his opponent refusing to concede, arguing there were irregularities in the race.
Joining us now to explain is that candidate, Chris McDaniel. Mr. McDaniel, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
I want to start by getting your reaction to the suicide of Mark Mayfield, a lawyer in Mississippi who was indicted, charged with a felony in the case concerning Thad Cochran's wife, who was in a nursing home. He apparently shot himself yesterday and told friends that he was concerned that his indictment might have hurt your campaign. Do you have any response to what's happened? Well,
someone lost a father and a husband. And in my dealings with Mark over the years, he was a fine Christian man. So it's regrettable. It's tragic is what happened.
Well, your campaign is continuing at this hour. You have not conceded in this race. Am I right on that?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And why are you continuing this fight?
Well, a number of reasons. The first is, naturally, we've already found about 1,500 ineligible voters, and that's just in a handful of counties. We know there was an orchestrated effort to circumvent the law, and we know that these Democrats that voted on June the 3rd, which was the earlier primary, are not allowed legally to cross over and vote for the Republican primary on June the 24th, which is precisely what so many did. And so right now we have our team looking over all the records in the state, and we anticipate we're going to find literally thousands of improper or irregular or ineligible voters.
Yeah, what I'm reading here is that you said you think 35,000 to 40,000 Democrats may have voted after being reached out to by the Cochran campaign. Is this, if this indeed is true, what does it say about the integrity of elections in general?
The integrity matters, but also the integrity of the party matters. We're talking about a Republican primary wherein my opponent reached out to 35 to 40,000 liberal Democrats. That primary Tuesday was decided by liberal Democrats, and that does at least raise some question not only about the process and the integrity therein, but likewise the process of our system where Republicans are supposed to elect their nominees. That's not what happened in Mississippi on Tuesday.
But there is no party registration in Mississippi, and in Washington anyway, Republicans are fretting about how to enlarge the base, how to get non-traditional voters to vote Republican. Here you had apparently thousands of black voters and Democrats voting for a Republican. That's not a good thing?
It's not a good thing in a primary the way they did it. Do you want to enlarge the base by pushing larger government? Do you want to enlarge the base by saying that I will cut off food stamps if I'm elected? Is that your way of enlarging the base? Do you want to enlarge the base by threatening voter suppression, which we would never do under any circumstances? Do you want to enlarge the base by saying a two-term state senator and all of his supporters apparently are racist? That's no way to enlarge a base. You do that in the general election. We're supposed to be a party of conservatives, of principled conservatives. And that's part of the problem right now. We have a party that's more concerned about compromise and surrender than it is about fighting for our principles. And that happened here Tuesday evening. There's no justification for that.
Well, the other side, of course, is what your campaign opponent has said. They're calling you a sore loser and a whiner, and that because we have an open primary, that's how Ronald Reagan was elected. Without an open primary, Ronald Reagan would have never been elected with those Reagan Democrats that came across the aisle to vote for him.
I'll suggest again that my opponent ran a race as a Democrat. He went on a Democratic platform, and he received the nomination based on the vote of 35 to 40,000 Democrats in the Republican primary. I don't think that's right, and if there are party officials who think that's right, then I would suggest they're in the wrong party.
Well, if this is far from over, where do you go from here?
Well, we've already found 1,500 irregularities, 1,500 ineligible voters. Likewise, we already have a statement from one of the leading Democrats in Hinds County where he was asked to participate in this illegal activity by the Republican Party, Hinds County chairman. So we have some collusion. We know the issues are out there. We feel like we're going to find the votes, and the integrity of this race matters, not only of the voting process, but also of the Republican primary.
Will there be a recount?
Oh, that's a good question. We're going to look at this. If we find the numbers, we anticipate taking it to a court. Absolutely.
Chris McDaniel joining us live this morning from Mississippi. Thanks a lot for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
And coming up, call them the magnificent.